Welcome to the Interior Designer Podcast, real-world business education for interior designers. There is often a big difference between a beautiful interior design website and an interior design website that actively converts visitors into clients. Today's podcast guest knows why so many designer websites fail to generate client leads, and more importantly, she knows how to fix them. Cathleen Barnes spent 10 years optimizing e-commerce websites before deciding to focus her business on interior designers. Today, she helps designers transform their pretty portfolio websites into strategic business tools that actually book clients. In our conversation, Cathleen reveals the 5 essential web pages every designer needs, why beautiful photos without clear calls to action are costing you clients, how to track what visitors actually do on your site, the simple automation systems that nurture leads while you sleep, why sharing your design process attracts better clients. If your website gets compliments but not consultations, Kathleen's framework will completely change how you think about your online presence. So without any further ado, let's dive into my interview with Cathleen Barnes.
Kathleen, you have kind of a unique background. The things you did before getting into this, can you tell me how you transferred from like doing corporate e-commerce to designing websites specifically for interior designers?
Yeah, so over the past 10 years, I've been working in the corporate world, primarily, like you said, in the e-commerce world. And this really gave me a very deep understanding of how websites work, what makes them effective, and how they convert. And so I have a lot of knowledge in that area. And I've worked with other businesses as well, just designing their websites. But over the past year and a half, I had the opportunity of starting to get to work with interior designers. And for me personally, this was awesome because I have a huge love for web design and I really like interior design. I do home projects myself, from DIYing things to just appreciating a beautiful space. And I have an appreciation for what designers can do. And so when I started to work with interior designers, it felt extremely fun, but it also, their businesses are very unique. And I saw a lot of the problems that kept coming up from, wanting to attract their, ideal clients to wanting more bookings that would then lead into higher paying clients, or they wanted to streamline their client onboarding processes to even connecting e-commerce shops or their LTK shops. And so with this, I really felt like there was a need for this space and there was a problem that I could help them solve and help them understand the value of their website and what it could do for them in terms of growing their business, in terms of saving them time from streamlining their processes, and ultimately getting them back into why they originally started their businesses in the first place.
Since you brought up kind of things that are wrong with designers' websites and how they're using them, could you go in maybe and highlight a few things that you see that are common amongst designers when you get a look at their existing website, things that are just not right that you're like, no, we're changing this right away?
Yeah, so there's definitely some critical things that designers I find do, because a lot of them come in, they might have DIY'd their websites when they are starting to come and work with me. So they're not web designers. That's not the core of what they do. And what I find is they don't have like a clear path to conversion. So they might not have a very simplified navigation. So when it comes to like your main navigation, you should have between 5 to 7 clear headings and pages. And if you have more than this, it can be very overwhelming and cluttered. And so it can just confuse visitors. So that's one thing. The next thing would be not having clear calls to action. So your call to actions are those buttons on your website that tell someone where they're going to go and what they need to do on their website. It really guides them to that next step. And if those call to actions are missing or they're confusing, again, it's going to cause someone to leave their site. And then there's things in terms of like the layout as well. So it might not be clearly defined sections that make sense in a logical order. So someone really wants to come to your website, understand who you are, what you offer, but then there's got to be an order of how they're going to consume that content too, and what you want to show them and guide them along the way. So it's really making them understand that your website is really set up to have specific goals to get someone to ultimately fill out that contact form with you or to book your calls. And then I would say the last thing is really the messaging as well. So a lot of designers, when they first start out, they're not really exactly sure who they want to serve and who they're working with, because they might still be understanding what their process is. They're trying to get, clients in the pipeline and figuring all that out and identifying who it is that they really want to work with. And so their messaging is a little bit all over the place. And it's talking to everyone. And what we have to do is kind of hone that in and talk to the people that they would ideally like to work with. Think about someone that you've worked with in the past that would have been an ideal client for you, and the type of, style and design that you want to do in your business.
I would assume for a lot of interior designers, everything you just said can probably feel a little overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And I would assume that designers should be able to understand this, because when they sit down with a homeowner or whoever their client is, and there's so much that goes into designing a space that the client, even if they've, binge watched HGTV for years, they may think they know interior design, but they don't really know what goes involved. And so I hopefully we haven't scared people off right away with all of this detail that you said. So maybe you could give me kind of a success story, a client that you've worked with that, came in not understanding all of this stuff, and what you were able to do for them and what you were able to produce for them, their website.
Yeah, so there's some simple things that I've done for clients, maybe taking their one-page DIY website that just had a lot of various information on that one page. And now we've broken it out into, let's say, 5 different pages. So it's their home page, their about page, services, portfolio, and contact page. And just making sure that we are having high quality imagery on there. We might be able to align their design style with the colors and the fonts that are being used. So let's say, for example, if I had a designer that does, very bold colors and they like patterns and textures, we would really want to take some of those pieces and incorporate it into their site so that it mimics their design style. So when you go from like a 1-page to a 5-page website, it's really going to give people more information in around what you do, how you can connect with them, what problems you solve, and the pain points that people can kind of understand and relate to, and how you are the designer and the right choice for them. So with just simple fixes like that, you can immediately see changes from the design perspective. But then when it came to, a lot of designers get very overwhelmed with technical things like SEO. It's just very overwhelming and they don't even know really where to start. And so I'm there to kind of guide them and be that source and say, this is really what it is. It's going to help you get found in search engines. It's going to help you rank on Google. And this is the key things. We need to put some information in your title tags. We need to put information in the meta descriptions for each of the pages. We need to rename images so that they don't say image 1, 2, 3 on them. And those keywords that you put in throughout the website are then going to help you rank in like your local areas or on the search engines. And so I just really try to make sure that when designers come to me and they're working with me, that they see me as a strategic partner in their business and someone that they can trust. And I'm the expert in web design, you're the expert in interior design, and we can collaborate together and make a really great end product that feels great for you and your business, but that you also know that it's been set up properly and it's going to function properly as well for you at the end of the day.
It sounds like there's a real strong education component to
There
what
is.
you do. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of things that designers, they just hear kind of buzzwords sometimes from web designers, and they're just not quite sure exactly how that can correlate back to them. And so just really breaking it down into an easy, simplified way for them to understand and can relate interior design back to web design and how this is really going to help you grow your business.
And you also brought up talking about a designer's style and relating that to their website. So I assume, hopefully correctly, that there's that designer's style, their ideal client, their positioning as a designer. Does that how much does that impact how when you work on building their website?
It impacts it a lot because I think you have to really understand who those clients are that you're working with and what that design style is that you enjoy doing. Maybe personally, you like bold, flashy colors, patterns, but the ideal clients that you are working with maybe like more neutral colors. They like more, they have more sophisticated palettes. And so you want to make sure that your website is reflective of the people that they can then see themselves in that design style. And so that's reflected into some of the imagery that you put on your website so that they can envision themselves in that space, see what you've done for another person and how you could do that for them.
Okay. Um, so uh, oh, the end goal of the website is to have people hit the contact page and make a connection with that designer, right?
Mhm.
Um, is there a strategy that you employ, like how you design your pages to take the potential client through a journey to lead them towards that contact page?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a couple of different ways. You could either have them fill out the contact form, or you might have someone fill out like an application form, or maybe the goal is to get someone to book an inquiry call. So you can set your website up in a couple of different ways and just depending on how you want to get there. So the way I would structure it in terms of like that client journey is to make it as seamless as possible. So just like a well-designed home, you want to make sure that your website flows just as seamlessly. And in order to do that, you kind of want to break it down into, okay, the first impression that someone's going to see. When someone visits your website, it's oftentimes the first time that they are visiting your business, getting to know anything about it. And so you want to make sure it's saying, I'm professional, I'm the expert, I'm your go-to designer. And so that's the first thing. Then you want to take them more into like the exploratory phase where you want to encourage them to learn more about your services, learn more about your company and who you are as the designer. And then you also want to be able to have them explore your portfolio and get a sense of your design style and taste and how you've done that for other clients. And then the next thing, which is really, really important, and this is why call to actions are important, is to drive them to take that action, whether that's saying, book a discovery call with me, let's work together, and flowing them into their contact page, or if you had an application form, like apply here, just being very specific with that terminology so that they know after they're done exploring and you've kind of built trust with them along the way through maybe FAQs or testimonials from other people that you've worked with. Once they've kind of hit all those points, then you want to call them in to take that action step with you.
I've spoken with designers in the past who feel uncomfortable with call to actions. They might have up at the header, they might have the book a discovery call kind of button. And then you go to their portfolio page and it's beautiful images and they take a look. They don't lead them from that portfolio page to take an action. And when I've discussed it, I mean, everybody's got their own specific reasons, but I consistently see a concern that the impression they're giving to their potential clients is too aggressive in terms of saying, hey, come, I need you to come here, connect with me, we need to do business. And what they ended up with were websites that looked pretty but didn't result in the number of client leads that they wanted. So can I assume that there's a balance to that between looking like a slimy website that's, with pop-ups and all sorts of things going on, versus never really asking for to make that connection?
Yeah, if you're not asking to make that connection or have some kind of call to action, someone has no idea what to do and where to go. And if they're on a page that has no call to action button at all, they're not going to be able to take whatever next step that is. They're going to have to go maybe all the way back to the homepage or up to the navigation. So that's why it's key to put call to actions throughout different points of like the page that you are designing. You don't have to have them all over the place, but you need to strategically place them. So like, for example, on your portfolio page, you can have your nice imagery of the designs that you've done. You could even have a narrative, so make it into a case study, showing someone exactly what you've done for another client, the results that you were able to bring, the challenges and problems that they had, and walk them through that story. But if at the end you don't have a call to action saying, would you like to work together, or book a discovery call with me because this is your design style, like you can do it more in a conversational way. It doesn't have to be like, just come work with me. it But you definitely need something there to take them to that next step, because otherwise they're just going to read it and be like, okay, and then leave, maybe go somewhere else and not continue to like flow through your website.
I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into the concept of client journey. If you could just kind of describe that writ large, what you mean by client journey. And also, I assume not every potential client, every homeowner who's on a website is going to interact with the website in the same way. Maybe they've already been through your entire Instagram and they're pretty sure that they really like what you do, and maybe when they come to your website, they just hit that book a call button right there that's in your header right away. Whereas other people need to read every single page and do their research and all that kind of stuff. So those two things.
Yeah, so there's definitely different points of places that people can enter into your website. Not everyone's just maybe going to land on your homepage, or someone's going to come in, like you said, through Instagram and maybe book a call for you. Maybe they've seen you a couple times, either through Instagram marketing and then have come to your website, or they've just landed on your website, learned more about you. There's different styles that people have. They're maybe need more time to absorb the information and really sit there and think about it, because it is a big purchasing decision for them, and they need to figure out if you are the right designer for them, or if maybe someone else is the better fit. So sometimes people just need time to process, and then there's other people that are like, yep, this person is my absolute go-to. There's no question about it. I already know, like, I'm just going to book the call right then and there. So there's different access points someone can come in, and depending on which page you're on, you still need to be able to try and navigate them through to see other pages. So let's say they land on your about page. You might want to take them to then go to learn more about your services. And then from your services page, you might want to take them to go see your portfolio. So just having a couple critical steps, not saying everyone's going to go in the same order, but having enough information on there for them to gather and absorb it and understand exactly what you do, how you're going to help them and serve them at the end of the day.
So just so I understand, so you set up this journey for the site visitor who maybe needs to take and time and learn all the different steps about you, but for the people who are ready to make a decision, there'll be call to actions on those page to let them, if they want to bypass all of that other information, boom, they can just jump ahead and
Hmm.
make the connection right away.
Yeah, that could either be in the form of like booking a booking button to just book a direct call with them. Some people like to let people apply to work with them first because they might want to understand who it is that that's inquiring with them, because not everyone might be the right fit for that designer. So they may want to like vet them out first. Or it could just be as simple as just going to your contact page. So you might not have those application forms or that booking tool. It's more just you need to make sure that the contact page is easy to access with that form for them to fill out.
Okay. You touched on it a little bit earlier, but could we go over the pages that are most critical to an interior designer's website?
Yeah, I think I said it before, but I think there's 5 pages I would consider as critical for interior designers. Certainly your homepage, then your about page, your services page, your portfolio, and then your contact page. Those are definitely the 5 main pages that I see most designers using all the time, and they're extremely critical to their business.
Um, I'm thinking about the portfolio page, and once again, this is another example of things I've seen from other designers where portfolio page reminds me kind of their Instagram feed, of their grid, and how it's made up generally of beautiful images of their designs. But you also mentioned case studies.
Mhm.
Is that something you help designers with? I mean, I know a little bit about it, and I mean, I think it's a fantastic tool, and I think when combined with images, it provides something that most interior designers aren't doing. If you could kind of elaborate on case studies.
Yeah, correct. So I don't see a ton of designers doing this right now. I think it's starting to become more prevalent in the industry and people doing it. And what a study is, it's really just a story about the specific project that you worked on with a client. And so this is going to be highlighted by why did that client come to you? What services were they seeking? What problems did they have? What did they need help solved? And then you can incorporate it in a story format and then also weave in your images throughout it, and maybe like your design process and your mood boards and different design presentations, and just create it as a story along the way so that people can understand what you've done for another client, solving their problems, the solutions that you had to come up with, and then the results that you were able to achieve for them. And you can get it as creative, like I said, as you want. So you could integrate, maybe videos in there. You could do video walkthroughs. You could do mood boards. You could get as fun and creative as you want. And this is really great when you're trying to attract high-end clients, because higher-end clients definitely want to see how you've done something for someone else in specific detail, because like I said, they are investing a lot of money into your services, and they really just want to make sure that you are that right designer for them. And how you've been able to showcase what you were able to do for someone else just puts them in that person's shoes of what you could do for them.
Okay. Um, to my mind, that seems like something. If you're willing to offer that to designers to help them with their website, that doesn't seem normal in terms of what a web designer normally does. Like just build the website. That kind of ties back to where we talked about education. So I think that's definitely something like of unique value that you're providing to clients.
Hmm. Yeah, so it really depends on the client that I'm working with too. So what are they coming in to work with me for? Like, what are their specific goals and objectives that they have? Where do they want to take their business? And then I give them different things that they can think about that we can incorporate into their website that maybe they've never even heard of before, or They're just not even aware even it maybe exists in the platform itself that we're working with. And so I really just help kind of educate them in that way and show them, if we do this, let's say we turn their portfolio, instead of just having a curated gallery of images, we turn it into a nice story of a case study, really highlighting on the results, how that could help get them more inquiries at the end of the day and really connect better with their audience. So like I said, it does depend on the client, whether I really do it or not with them, but it is something that I've found a lot of designers are interested in doing. And so we just get a little bit creative with, the imagery that they have, the videos that they have, if they're using, mood boards and design presentations, and how we can weave that into the website.
Have you found many designers using video or wanting or open to
Yeah.
it even?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of video that designers have that they're already sharing on Instagram, or they're doing branding photo shoots, and that's now part of their process because they do know that video is really important. I have had designers using video more often in their websites. But then there's some that still don't have it. It is an investment in your business, and it is going to cost you some money to have those professional videos. So sometimes people don't have them right away, but it's something that you can also incorporate over time. I like the videos just because it gives a little bit more of a personal touch to it, and just a unique vibe to the website, makes it a little bit more interactive and engaging for visitors.
Okay. I was speaking to someone else the other day about Studio McGee and how they've used social media, especially video, to go from a two-person design firm to like this insanely huge, successful juggernaut. And I went back into a lot of their like old stuff,
Mhm.
and it was her talking to the camera, walking through a job site, explaining things, why they did this, why they didn't do this. And I realized that the video on the website is, when you're talking professional, right? Because you want it to look good, not just, your assistant holding their
Mhm.
iPhone and taking this. But I think there are opportunities for designers to do things that nobody else is doing, that paints a picture to that prospective client of, the things that could go bad, right? Like something was installed
Mhm.
incorrectly and you're saying, well, this is what happened, it sucked, but this is what we did and this is what we're going to do to fix it. Is that something that I mean, maybe I'm asking, this is kind of outside of your scope. If something like that, more personal, would you involve that in a website, or would you keep it very professional?
Um, no, you don't have to have a professional video with our iPhones or whatever phone you're using today. The video quality is pretty good. I think it's just taking a look at the video and seeing if it makes sense to incorporate in that specific area. I think having videos like that makes you more genuine and authentic and real with certain people, especially if you're trying to either educate them on why we did something in the space. But I wouldn't put them everywhere on your website. I would just be very strategic on the times that you do use those videos and where you are placing them into certain pages.
Okay. Um, would you consider it a good idea for a designer to create possibly like an FAQ page? Um, and that could involve video as well. Like you could answer the questions in a video format.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's not as important as the 5 other pages you said, but have you done that for clients?
Oh, yes. FAQs are really important. Sometimes what I do is I don't necessarily just make it like a whole separate page, but it might be a section on your services page. And that could have like expanders that have your question, and then you expand it and then it has the answer. But FAQs are a critical portion of a designer's website too, just because they answer common questions that people have. And this is going to help you also eliminate getting all the same questions all the time. And if you can answer them for people up front on your website, this is going to help them make better decisions and get the information they need that's readily available, that they don't have to maybe fill immediately out that contact form, that they can get that answer from the FAQ section.
So let's jump over to the contact page or the booking pages. Um, 5 years ago, it would have been if someone visited a website of a designer, there would be, a connect, there would be like an email button or the phone number would be listed or whatever. But with Calendly or Google Calendar options, things are now automated. So when the designer is sleeping, people can visit the website and make a connection. Can you speak to that kind of stuff, like automation or third-party technology or whatever, how that's impacting your website designs?
Yeah, I love the automation portion of it. So a lot of designers have those booking tools now. So either they're using a Calendly service or they're using tools inside of the platform that they're utilizing. And those are really great because a visitor can come and possibly book a call with you immediately without you having to go back and forth through email with that person and giving them like a link to the meeting. So trying to incorporate that in the easiest way possible through like a button on your website is really good. There's also things that you can do in terms of automation. So when someone is coming and signing up for your email list, you could then send them a series of emails that they'll get immediately after they sign up. And that's going to engage them for a period of time. And you're not having to sit there writing out those emails, sending it off to anyone. And then there's other ways too, like with your client onboarding process, you might have forms that like client intake forms or design questionnaires. You can build those forms out on your websites and then create automations to them through your email marketing system. And someone fills out your client intake form, they push the submit button, you have an email that goes out to the client saying, thank you, I got this. Now here's the next step, and then it'll take them to the next form. So you can get really creative in how you're doing it. And it's ultimately going to save you a lot of time at the end of the day. I've had clients that have saved several hours a week because before they were sending out PDFs or emailing back and forth with people, all the same information. And now this is streamlined through their website. And it's just saved them the headache from all of that.
And could you give us maybe a percentage or an idea of how many designers, when they come and have this discussion with you and you start talking about automations, are they aware of this? Is this like something that surprises them, or it's like, yeah, I know I should be doing this, but I'm not?
Some I definitely find are very surprised. They're like, I didn't even realize that this was even possible inside of this platform to do. And then others are like, I'm not quite ready for this. And maybe that's like a phase 2 that we work on because I'm just not there yet. The first phase is just getting my website up, looking the way that I need. And then we're going to, incorporate client onboarding forms in the automations and emails for emails.
It's hilarious. That sounds exactly like an interior designer who sits down with the residential client. It's like, I just want to do the living. I know I want to do the kitchen, but I'm not ready to do the kitchen yet. We'll talk about that in phase 2.
Yep.
That's funny. That is totally funny. Okay, let's discuss platforms, because I know you have you're not building like brand new, like setting up the coding. You use a couple of different platforms to build websites. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, that's correct. So I use 2 different platforms that I prefer. I've used more, but I just come back to these 2, and they are Wix and Shopify. So a lot of times I'll suggest Wix to anyone who is like a service-based interior designer. Whereas for Shopify, I'm going to suggest this to a designer who might be more e-commerce based, that they want to sell a lot of products. So Wix, I really like using for service-based interior designers because it's got a lot of features to it that a lot of people don't even realize, like we were talking about before. And I like it from the standpoint of the ease of use of it. So it's a lot of it is a drag and drop interface. You can customize a lot of different sections into the website without that need for custom coding, because you and I both know interior designers are not tech gurus all the time. Some of them maybe, but others are probably not. They really just want a website that works for them. They want to be able to maybe update their images or easily update their text without having to always constantly go to their web developer or web designer and being like, can you just change the name on this? Or, I need to adjust this paragraph or image. And they want to just be able to do it themselves. So that's why I use Wix as this platform. And then the other great thing about Wix is it's kind of like a all-in-one stop for that designer. So I find a lot of designers are using tools like Calendly and Flowdesk and other things, and they're kind of just like overwhelmed having all of these different places to go to. And they're like, I can't remember to go here or what this is used for. And so they're just like, is there a way to like have everything together in here? And Wix provides that. Wix has email marketing already built in. They already have tools for bookings that you can connect with your Zoom account or your Google Meeting account, and it's all free inside of Wix. And they also have integrations with like your social media feeds as well. They have CRM systems. You can hook in, your invoicing platform. So there's a lot of components behind the scenes within Wix, even with the automations portion, not just from the email marketing perspective, but just if you wanted to create different workflows and reminders of different tasks or what you need to do, that's all available in Wix. So I use it as like a one-stop shop for people that they can get not only their website, but all of these additional tools, and it's going to save them time and money as well if they do that. And then for Shopify, I really suggest this to designers who are really going that e-commerce route. So they really want to sell a whole variety of products, and Shopify is really set up to be able to scale those e-commerce businesses, because if you built it on Wix, it might not have all of the capabilities later down the road. So it's easier just to start off in Shopify, have everything that you need, and then you can be able to scale your business later down the road without having to change platforms at a certain point in time. So those are the two ways that I use these platforms and why I love them.
Mm-hmm. Have both of those platforms over the last couple of years, I mean, I'm kind of tying it into AI and automation. Are they changing? Are they like improving constantly or not?
Oh, they're absolutely changing all the time. So I would say if you ask someone maybe like 10 years ago about Wix, they might have a bad perception about it. But Wix has invested an incredible amount of money into the platform, and it's now has all of those tools integrated. It's got AI integration in it and pretty much everything that you need there. Same with Shopify. They have done a ton of investing into that platform to make it easier for customers to use, so that you're not having to rely on that custom development side of things, because custom development is great, but it's not for the everyday user either. And you need to make sure that you're creating websites that are easy for your clients to be able to utilize and update what they need. And it doesn't make a website effective if it's custom coded or not. It's about how you're using that website, how you're using that platform, and is it set up to meet your business goals and tailor to your individual business.
Okay. The customization piece of it, I'm curious. So you design a website for me. I'm over the moon with it. It's perfect. But 6 months, maybe I've finished a new project. I wanna add that new project and make a new portfolio page. Am I gonna come back to you and ask you to do it and just shove all the images at you, and maybe we can discuss a case study, or am I on my own?
We can do it in both ways. So as when I work with clients, I absolutely continue working with them. So what I have implemented with clients is what I call like a VIP day. So if they have something down the road that they need a quick change to, maybe like additional pages or functionality, they contact me and then we decide, okay, here are the main things that we're going to work on. And then I set, 1 or 2 days aside in my schedule to only work on their business so that they have full access to me and we can get all the things done that they need. And they're never left on their own. But I also give clients video tutorials, instruction manuals. I have trainings with them so that they know exactly how to utilize their websites if they wanted to. If they wanted to just duplicate a page that has the same structure and format as another page. So let's say their portfolio page is set up in one way. They could duplicate that page and then plug in the images or the content that they wanted for that new portfolio piece. So if they wanted the option to do it on their own, they could, but they also have that opportunity to come back and ask me as well for that help.
Okay. And if either Wix or Shopify did some amazing new update to their platform, how would you deal with that? Would you blast out an email to everybody saying, big changes at Wix or big changes at Shopify, and let's get back in and implement this into your site?
I definitely could. I always reach out to my clients every so often. I give them a few months and maybe reach back in, see how things are going, how their website is performing. I'm pretty much in regular contact with anyone that I have worked with. So if something that I thought, Wix or Shopify came out with that was going to be critical for their business, I would certainly send them an email. I don't know if I would do like an email blast out to everyone just because it might not be relevant to what they need at that time. But if I thought that there was that need, I would certainly go down that route.
Okay, so you take more of a personal approach with each individual.
Absolutely. I don't see a website as like it's a one size fits all type of thing. Not every interior designer is the same, so I don't approach every website in the same way either.
Okay. I'm curious about content, designers producing content outside of their portfolio. That could be a blog, it could be a vlog, it could be something like that. Would you consider that to be another page to add to your website?
Yep. So like in Wix or Shopify, they both have blog applications in there that you can plug in. So I've definitely helped designers with their blogs and setting them up in terms of the posts and the content that they want to release, setting up categories and just kind of showing them what the blog can do for them. I've even integrated things like Google AdSense into blogs so that people could they could have ads on there and then collect money from Google AdSense as well if they clicked on that ad. So there's definitely possibilities there with blogs, but it's something I absolutely do and would be another page on their site.
Okay. When we talk about results of a website, we're primarily, I mean, the most important thing is potential clients reaching out, making contact. I don't know, is when it comes to tracking that kind of data, is that something that you help with, or setting that kind of thing up where we can track like different metrics?
Yes. So that's actually one of the distinctions in my web design business is I'm not just a web designer, but I do a lot of web strategy. And so in the beginning, when someone comes and they'll have like discovery call with me, what we'll first do is kind of dive into their business a little bit, talk to them about why they're wanting a new website or the problems that they're facing. And then I'll kind of try and dig in and say, do you know what maybe your website stats are? And look at that from that perspective and kind of dig in and ask them, how many people are coming to your website? And then out of those people, do you know how many are filling out your contact form or signing up for your email list or booking a discovery call? And so we'll take a look at those numbers, and I'll do more education with them. And I kind of explain it in a way that typically someone should have about like 100 visitors coming to their site. And out of those 100 visitors, they should have at least between 1 to 3 people taking an action step with them, whether that's booking a call with them, filling out their contact form, or maybe signing up for their email list. And if so, that tells me that their website is converting in that average range of other interior designer websites. But if they're getting, less visits than that and no conversions, that's telling me you have a really low converting website and something may be off there. And if it's above, that's great. It's performing really, really well for you. If it's above that 3, if you have at least 100 people. So we'll take a look at those numbers and understand, okay, is this actually a website problem, or is it maybe potentially a marketing problem? So you can have the best website and the highest converting website, but if no one's finding you, you're not doing any marketing to it, it's going to be really, really tough to get found. And then there's a really unique aspect to my business, and it has to do with the strategy around it. So when someone, I guess, comes to work with me, there's a strategy component. And so what we do is I will install what is called like an inspector tool. It is essentially a piece of coding that I put on that client's website, so their existing website. And then we don't necessarily start their project immediately. We let that piece of coding do its job on their website, because it's going to tell me exactly visitors who are coming to their site and what they're doing. And so I'm going to be able to see, okay, where are they clicking on the website, what buttons, what call to actions, where their mouse is moving, how far they're scrolling down the page. There's also video recordings, heat mapping functions, and we'll take a look at that and say, okay, we thought that this button should be doing its job, but maybe there's something that we need to change about it, whether it's like the wording on it, we need to move it to a different area, or if there's a page that is getting a ton of clicks, maybe we need to move it up further in the navigation. So if a lot of people are clicking on your services page versus your about page, we're going to move your services page up. And so we're using that data behind the scenes to actually make informed decisions about people who are coming to your website and what they're doing, so that we can build you a website that's really going to work and function a lot better than your current one. And we have the actual information to prove it. And then what I do is I'll share that tool that I use with my clients, so that we can then look at it, 6 months, a year, whatever it is down the road, once there's even more data behind it to really tell us the story of what's going on and are there other improvements that we could make.
I'm assuming that's a third-party tool, not built in for Wix or Shopify.
That is a third-party tool.
It kind of sounds like what is the Facebook thing called? Pexel or
Mm-hmm.
Pexel. It sounds similar to that, right? Where, yeah. Now, I mean, I could nerd out on this, and I don't understand most of what you just said, but I mean, it gets me excited. But if the designer you've built their website for it, and they're trying to kind of manage things on their own, would they have access to that data, or is that strictly like that's something that you kind of hold on to and would reach out to them and maybe
I've done it both ways, where there's some people that might not really want to be involved in those granular details of that data, but it is something that I do give them access to if they would like it. I do share that and say, hey, if you can find this useful, here's this tool. We already have the coding installed on your website, and you can go back and reference this at points in time, and I can show them how to utilize it too. So what they really need to be looking at, I wouldn't overwhelm them with all the data in here, but I would say, here, this is the area that you need to look at in the heat mapping. This is going to tell you where maybe your top 3 clicks are. And here's a section if you ever wanted to look at a video recording, I would look at the ones that maybe people are spending more time on your site. So that means that they're more engaged. They're not leaving immediately. So you want to kind of just watch and see what they're doing and if they're getting stuck anywhere.
Would that software tell where visitors are coming from as well?
That doesn't necessarily say to me where they're exactly coming from. It's more when they land on the website, what they're doing.
Okay. No, I was curious if, like, so say a visitor's been to your Instagram, they click on the link from your bio, come to your website, and then you can watch them go through the process and see, okay. I mean, not that all your Instagram visitors are going to be a monolith and behave the same way, but that would kind of give you a bit more detail of how to kind of talk to those people.
The one way that you could definitely track that is, and this is an organic way to get like search engine traffic. So a lot of people in their Instagram bios will use maybe a service called like Linktree or Smart Bio. But instead, what you could do is set up that same page on your website with all of those links on it. And so if you saw that someone was coming into that designed page on your website, you would know then that they were coming in through Instagram from that recording, because you had set that immediate page up on your site with all those links. So you would know someone came here, saw these links, clicked in, and then proceeded through the website. So you could get some intel that way if you set up your Instagram bio that way.
That seems really smart. Thanks for that. That's a good one. That's a good tip. Okay. Let's talk. Okay, now we're kind of getting granular anyways. Let's talk about metrics that you consider most important. End of the day, client reaching out and saying, hey, I want to work with you. That's the number one metric. But what about all the other nitty-gritty nerd stuff? What do you consider important?
I really look at more like the conversion. So when someone is booking a call or filling out your contact form, I would say we measure that with how many people are taking those action steps, but then out of those number of people, how many of them are actually like quality leads? So are these people that you are going to want to work with as clients in the future? Or some maybe they're not, the right fit for you. So we would look at the quality of them, and then I would take a look at like the success metrics. So out of those number of clients or people that were able to book with you and they were quality, how many actually turned into high-paying clients? And that's really your success rate that you should be monitoring. And you could look at that based on, I would suggest at least on a monthly basis to see, are those leads getting, better over time? And are you able to book more of them as well, the more that they come in?
Okay. Let's see. How about if you've started working with me, you've rebuilt my website, I understand things a lot better. What kind of changes can I expect to see in terms of getting those higher quality leads, like number total and then higher quality? What is there kind of a typical, like, people get excited in 6 months, things start changing? Or
I've seen it as quick as just a couple weeks. So, and then for other people, it's been, definitely a couple months. So it really depends, again, on the designer and what also their marketing is doing as well, and the changes that we were able to make. So, for example, I had a designer that got a client within the first couple of weeks of changing her website. She didn't have any SEO built in, no localization to it. So people weren't even finding her, knowing that she was, available in her local service area. And beyond just, changing the design and layout of her website so that people could easily contact. And so that I saw very quickly. But then there's others who might not be as active with their marketing, and it's taking a little bit of time to build up people coming into their website and then converting with them. So it just really depends, and it depends on like the keywords that you're using, the location that you're in, and how you're kind of ranking as well throughout the search engines.
Maybe a weird question, but say I've started working with a marketing agency specifically for local. Um, would you help in terms of like kind of working with the marketer and like feedback going back and forth between the three of us in terms of website design and tying that into a new marketing strategy?
It really depends on who that is. Like I have different partners sometimes that I work with and can suggest out to a designer. Uh, Ultimately, I think the first process is you would make sure that you have a good website set up and hopefully a strategic website. And then the next step would be marketing. So not necessarily does, let's say, a social media manager need to reach out to the web designer for a particular reason. It's more, I would work closely with like professional copywriters throughout the website process if that was something, a route that we went down.
Okay. Let's pretend I'm an interior designer who's listened to this podcast and is blown away by Kathleen Barnes and wants to work with her. What would that process look like?
Yeah, so first you would go to my website and you would apply to work with me, and you would fill out my application form. And so then I would take a look and see if we were a good fit. And if that was the case, I would book a discovery call with you. And through that discovery call, we'll get to know each other. I'm going to learn more about your business, what problems you've been having with your website. Why do you even want a new website? What your goals are, between now and maybe 3 years down the road, so that we can strategically structure your site. And then I'll go through them, talking to them about the website strategy process that I have with those inspector tools, explaining how I use all of that in my design. And we do the strategy portion before we even start the web design phase. And then we'll go into the web design phase, web development, and then we'll test and launch. And that I'm there to really support them and be a strategic partner in their business. And that just has worked really well. So if someone wants to work with me, that's really, what that process looks like. And then you would, if you decide to work with me, you'll get a client project timeline calendar of everything that's going to happen during our time working together. And then we'll sign contracts, deposits, and hit the road running on our project start date.
Okay. Okay, let's say I'm a new interior designer and I don't feel I can afford the full service package that you offer. Is there any way for me to dip my toe in a little bit?
Yes. So I take every person that comes to me on a case by case basis and where they're kind of at in their business and what their specific needs are. Like I said before, not every website is the same and not every interior designer is the same. So if someone couldn't invest in my full service offerings, they couldn't pay the prices or something, I do offer semi-custom websites. They're all completely designed by me. It's just more of a templatized website that's already set up by me. It's already strategically designed, and then we will take your information and plug it in, and same with your images, work on your branding, things like that. So there's definitely options. And then I work with each person too on how robust the website needs to be, or maybe just looking here, the 3 pages that might be extremely critical just to get you up and running. And we kind of just move through the process like that.
Okay, that seems like a good way to get somebody kind of involved in your world who maybe either is concerned about the financial side of it, or maybe they think they've DIY'd their website for years and it's not but they still kind of want to keep their hands in there.
Mhm.
Um, and they would have the potential of, if they, after doing this with you for a little while, then maybe saying, you know what, I think I do want to transition over to the full service. They'd be able to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's never, I just, do a website and would never work with you again. That's not how I operate. I definitely leave it open to help you continue to grow in your business. And I will bring things to your attention if I thought, this could really help you move the needle in your business. You may really want to consider this. And so a lot of times when it comes down to like the proposal portion of giving my clients that proposal to look at, I will give them different options as well, so that they can see, okay, this is tier one. This is really the fundamental basics kind of bones of the website. And then I'll say, here's another option that you can look at. This has got more features, maybe more pages, integrations, something that I thought that was, kind of necessary for your business. And then you could have another package that's like all the bells and whistles, just so that people kind of see of like, okay, here's what I'm going to get when it's the bare bones. And here's actually, if I did everything, what that could look like for me. And do I want to invest in it or not?
Yep. And once again, this sounds like a conversation that an interior designer will have with
Mhm.
potential clients, right?
Yep.
So
It's very
it's just,
similar.
yeah, interesting. Well, that's all I've got in terms of questions. Is there anything I missed? Anything you want to discuss?
I think we really we did cover a lot of different things. I would just mimic again that definitely working with an interior designer is an investment, but your website is also an investment. You should really see the value in it. It's going to give you a return at the end of the day, or it should. And you should use it really as a business tool. So when you do come and work with an interior designer, or with a web designer, I'm sorry, too many designer terms. You should really look at them as a partner in your business, someone that's there and fully invested in your business and your growth and success, and not just someone who's there to just set up your website to make it look pretty. It's there to, we really do want to help you grow and be successful at the end of the day. And that's at least what my job is as a web designer.
Well, I think that's just about perfect. That's awesome. Kathleen, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. I learned a ton, and I'm pretty sure designers will learn a lot from our discussion today. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you so much, Douglas, for having me.
Okay, that wraps up my conversation with Kathleen Barnes about turning your website from a digital brochure into a client booking powerhouse. We all need to remember that strategic CTAs matter more than perfect aesthetics. Heat maps reveal what visitors actually do versus what we think they do, and tracking your conversion data is how you transform good websites into great ones. If you found value in today's episode, I would be forever grateful if you could take 30 seconds right now to do 3 things. Number 1, subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. Number 2, leave a rating and review so other interior designers can find our humble little show. Number 3, share this episode with one designer friend who needs to hear it. And if you've made it this far, I genuinely thank you for spending time with Kathleen and me today. Next week's podcast features social media strategist Amber Broder from ABC Social Media Management. I'm almost done editing it, and Amber drops some serious knowledge about turning followers into actual clients. Thanks, and see you next week.